Alright, hello, welcome to the first of the Puzzle League L series tutorials. So today we'll be going over the classic Sudoku puzzle. And if you want to follow along, this will be in your L1 workbook. So first we have the rules. So rule number 1 is that each row must contain each number from 1 to 3. And then the second rule says that each column must contain each number from 1 to 3. Okay, so first, what is a row? Well, a row is just a horizontal collection of cells, just like that. That would be a row. There are 3 rows here, as you can see. And what is a column? Well, a column is just a vertical collection of cells, just like that. So these are all columns. Okay, so now if you notice in the example, you'll see that every single column and every single row has each number from 1 to 3. And each number only appears once, right? That's important. Okay, so those are the rules. Let's try a few examples now. So this is example 25 from your workbook if you want to follow along. Now, let's decide where we want to start. Now you can see that in the middle row, 2 of the 3 numbers are already filled in for us. So I think that would be a good place to start. Because we know that this middle row, all it's missing is the number 3, so we can fill that there. Okay, now we see that the first column is missing one number, and that's the number 1, so we can put that there. Now if you take a look at the middle column here, okay, the middle column, we have to place the numbers 2 and 3, right? Those are missing. Number 1 is already here. So with that in mind, let's try placing the number 2. So should the number 2 go in this top cell or in this bottom cell? Well, if we place the number 2 in the bottom cell, we'll see that it conflicts with the number 2 in the bottom left cell, right? So we can't do this. This would be incorrect. So because of that, the number 2 must go in this top cell. And then since we use the number 2, we can place the number 3 for that column. Okay, now all we have to do is fill in the missing cells. Looking at the rows, right? So if you look at this top row, we'll see that it's missing the number 3, so we can put that in. And the bottom row, it's missing the number 1, so we can fill that. Okay, now if you look closely, you'll see that every single row and every column has each number from 1 to 3, and each number only appears once for that given row or column. So that's how we know we've completed the puzzle correctly. Let's try this next puzzle. This is example 30 in your workbook. Now this one isn't as easy as the previous one because you can see that all the numbers that are filled in for us are all over the place, right? But we can still solve this problem using logic. So let's take the number 3 in the top left cell, for example. Well, we see that this number 3 occupies the first column as well as the first row. So we know that the number 3 cannot appear in any of these cells here. Okay, but since the second column, as well as the third column, still need the number 3, right? We have to place a number 3 in both of these columns. We can place the number 3 here and here, right? As long as it's not these 2 rows and columns. Okay, so we fill in the number 3 for this puzzle. Now let's do the same with the number 2. Okay, well, we see that the number 2 is in the middle column, right? As well as the bottom row. Okay, so just for the same reasons, we know that we can't place the 2 in any of these cells. That means the 2 must go in the remaining cells, right? Because remember, each column and each row must have every single instance of the numbers from 1 to 3. Okay, so now that we've filled that in, let's take a look at the number 1, right? We can use the same logic to see that number 1 must go here and here. But another way you can think of it is that this first row or this second column, they're both missing the number 1. So number 1 has to go here. And for the same reason, the number 1 also fits in the bottom left cell. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I hope that helped. I will see you later. And what do you know? We are back. So welcome to another episode of the Puzzle League L series tutorials. Let's go over the Numberlink puzzle. All right. So let's take a look at the rules. So rule number 1, we have to connect the animal pairs. Okay, pretty simple. Rule number 2, each cell can only contain one line, and every cell must contain a line. So if you look at the example on the right here, we can see that the butterflies are connected, the fish are connected, and the panda bears are connected. Okay, and we can also see that every cell has a line in it, right? It contains a segment of a line, and that's important as well. Okay, so now that we know the rules, let's take a look at a few examples. Okay, so example number 12 is on the left here, and this is also in your workbook if you want to follow along. So the question is, which animal will be connected through the colored cell? So it's talking about this cell at the bottom left here. So which animal will be connected through this cell? If let's say we connect the butterflies just like this, right? Cutting right through the middle. Now, if we do that, well, we have a problem, right? We have no way of connecting the fish, right? We can't cut through another line. That'd be wrong, okay? So we know that that is not the answer. That tells us that for the butterflies, we have to take the longer route back here, okay? All right. Now for the fish, if we want to connect the fish, we can do so like this. But if we do that, then we connected all the animal pairs, but we haven't used up all the cells, right? Remember, rule number 2 is that each cell can only contain one line, and that every cell must contain a line. Okay? So if we do this, then these two cells won't have lines, and that won't work. So we know that the fish connection must extend down here and then up, just like that. So which animal will be connected through the colored cell? Well, it's the fish, right? Okay, let's take a look at this example. This is example number 32. It's a much larger puzzle, but don't be intimidated. So one strategy we could take when solving these puzzles is just simply connecting the animal pairs as simply as we can, and then figuring out how to fill in every cell with a line. Okay, so let's try that. Let's connect the fish, very simply. Same with the butterflies. And the panda bears. These are the most direct connections that we can make. Clearly, this is not the answer because we have many empty cells, right? And as per the rules, that is not allowed. But we can fix that now. With the panda bear connection, let's take a look at this one first because it's the largest connection. We know that we have to cover these bottom 4 cells on the left here, right? So let's do that. We'll edit this route. So make the panda bear go down here to this cell, and then turn left, down, and right all the way to the other panda bear. Okay. Now let's take a look at the fish. Same thing. If we want to fill in these 2 cells at the top, we have to curve the route, right? Just like that. And lastly, for the butterfly, it's a bit easier. We can start with the bottom butterfly, go up, go to the right, and down to arrive at this butterfly here. Okay? Now you can see that we filled in every single cell with a line. Okay, so that's everything for this puzzle. I hope that helped, and I will see you later.